In a crowded maternity ward, a nurse rips open a curtain and dumps a young mother's bag on the floor to rush a bed turnover. A night custodian wedges his cart in the doorway, flags the bed as in cleaning, and shields the woman, risking his job and getting suspended. Quiet, practical care follows, and small changes ripple through the ward without fanfare. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, where are you tuning in from? Leave your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The nurse yanked the curtain so hard the rings screamed, lights slammed in. The girl on the bed flinched and grabbed at her gown. A newborn blinked, mouth rooting in the air. Up, the nurse said. We need the bed. Let's go. She tipped the girl's duffel and it spilled across the tile. 2 diapers, a crumpled fast food visor, a single sock, a bus schedule half torn, the corner of a teddy print onesie. The baby started to cry. Ray's mop bucket bumped the doorframe. He froze, hand on the grey handle, gloves creaking. He should have kept walking. He was 3 days from full hire. He needed the insurance. The nurse flicked the thin blanket off the girl's legs like it was garbage. You can't sleep here, she said. This isn't a shelter. You're discharged. She kicked the bus schedule out of her way with a rubber sole. The girl was maybe 18. Loose-spun baby hairs stuck to her forehead with dried sweat. Milk had leaked through her gown and left a dark blotch. She pulled the gown up over one shoulder and kept one hand on the baby's bassinet like it might roll away. A second nurse glanced in and then out again. The whiteboard on the wall blinked full names and bed numbers like a flight screen. Phones rang and rang. Someone farther down the hall started moaning. Ray knew the rule. Do not interact with patients. Do not interfere with clinical staff. Do not touch the curtains. He had signed it with his new black pen. The ink was still wet on his brain. His chest felt tight, like someone had shut a door there. He slid his grey cart between the bed and the hall. The cart rattled and the yellow caution sign swung. Hold on, he said, voice low. He reached up, grabbed a spare sky blue panel from the clean linen rack, and clipped it to the track to make a wall. The nurse stared at him. Excuse me. Privacy, Ray said. His hands shook. He hated that they shook. He swung the panel across. It didn't reach all the way. He moved his body to fill the gap. He kept his eyes on the wall tile with the hairline crack and not on the girl's skin. Sir, you can't. The nurse started. 5 minutes, he said, still quiet. He bent and gathered the bus schedule and the sock, set them on the bed table. His gloves squeaked on the laminate. I'll bag the trash, and I'll log the bed when I'm done. We have a board, the nurse said. There were smudges under her eyes. Grey hair slipped from her ponytail. A pager blinked at her hip with a red dot. We're short 4 beds. The lobby's full of babies. Move. The girl stared at the floor and tried to tuck her feet under the gown so no one could see them. Her toes were grey with dust. The baby hiccuped and then choked on its own cry. Ray stepped closer to the scanner by the headboard. He tapped his badge to the scanner and switched the bed to in-cleaning. The little screen flashed and went yellow. Somewhere, a software board would flicker one bed off the list. The nurse's mouth opened. You don't have the right to do that. He didn't look at her. He took a clean blanket from his cart and draped it over the girl's lap. He scented it carefully, as if he'd done it 1,000 times. He lifted the bassinet rails and nudged it within reach of the girl's elbow. Here, he said to the girl. Do you need water? She nodded but didn't speak. She was breathing through her mouth like it hurt to pull air in. The cut on her lip was fresh. Sir, the nurse said, sharper. I need that bed turned over now. 1 second, Ray said. He turned to the girl. Do you want to sit up? He braced his hand behind her back and helped her slide. He moved like everything might break. I can call security, the nurse said. Do you want me to call security? Ray swallowed. He felt his badge heavy against his chest. The lamination had a bubble in it. Call them, he said. She put her hands on her hips. She looked past him at the monitor. I'm trying to keep people safe. She's not shouting, just grinding the words out like coffee through a cheap machine. I've got 3 women in triage with no beds. I've been here 12 hours. I hear you, he said, eyes still on the floor tile. 5 minutes. Footsteps hit fast on the vinyl. The charge nurse rounded the corner, clipboard, tired face. She took in the drawn curtain, the yellow screen on the scanner, Ray's cart wedged like a barricade. What's going on? She asked. He's blocking the bed, the first nurse said. Okay, the charge nurse said to Ray. You can't set bed status for us. That's not your role. Ray nodded. I know, he said. She's feeding. He said it like he was telling them the weather. She can feed in the lobby, the charge nurse said. We have chairs. She looked at the girl. Honey, do you have someone to pick you up? The girl shook her head. She held the baby close. Her fingers were raw where nails had been chewed down. Look, Ray said, and then he stopped. He had no speech in him, no plan. He just stood there, broad shoulders blocking the split in the curtain, cheap foam shoes planted. A security guard slowed at the door with his thumbs hooked in his belt. He didn't come in. Maybe he saw the baby. Maybe he added the math of his night and decided to wait a second. The charge nurse sighed and rubbed her temples. Give her 5, then clear the bed, she said. I'll page social. And you? She pointed the pen at Ray. Step out after. Thank you, Ray said. He exhaled for the first time in a minute. The air was stale like old mop water. The first nurse caught his eye. For a second, her face looked like someone's kid sister after a too-long shift. Then her jaw reset. Make it quick, she said. Ray moved slow on purpose. He picked up the duffel items and slid them in. He found a little plastic bag with 2 formula samples and tucked them in the pocket. He reached for a new gown and held it out without staring. The girl pulled it on with stiff, careful arms. He rolled the cart backward an inch so the curtain could fall clean. The baby latched and went quiet, except for the soft clicking sound of swallowing. The room was suddenly small and warm, like a closet with a space heater. He stepped back, and the security guard moved forward, expecting him to leave. Ray didn't leave. He stood by the bed rail. He watched the time on the wall clock, 4 minutes, 5. The charge nurse came back right at 5. Okay, she said. Wrap it up. He'll walk you downstairs. She looked pointedly at Ray. It wasn't a request. Downstairs was fluorescent and empty. The gift shop was dark behind the gate, dim stuffed bears staring through metal. They sat on the cold bench under the gift shop's dark sign. The girl cradled her baby and blinked hard like she was trying to stay awake. Security asked for his badge and clipped a paper to it. Report to HR after you escort her out, the guard said. Not mean. Just bored. Got it, Ray said. He was aware of a pressure building in his head, the kind that ends in a headache that feels like a hat 2 sizes too small. He got up and bought a ham sandwich from the all-night vending machine. It cost 3 swipes. He peeled the plastic and handed it over. You'll need energy, he said. Thank you, she whispered. Her voice had the thin sound of someone who hadn't used it much. You got anyone to call? He asked. She shook her head. She pushed a strand of hair behind her ear, and it fell forward again. Her ears were pink at the top where the cold hit. I had a friend, she said finally. She moved. Where are you going tonight? I don't know. She looked at the floor. Her sock had a hole at the big toe. The toe poked through like it was trying to be brave. In her lap, a torn envelope slid open. Ray saw official stamps, a state seal. He didn't read it out loud. He lifted the edge and saw temporary housing voucher, expires 12:00 p.m. and juvenile services contact Monday, Friday. The baby's last name line was blank. He closed the envelope and handed it back. You got a car seat? She pointed to a cheap plastic bucket seat on the floor. The straps were tangled. He adjusted them with fingers that had made 1,000 beds. He clicked and unclicked the buckle and then showed her how it should lie flat and tight. 2 fingers at the collarbone, he said. See? She nodded. Her eyes were shiny but dry. The baby yawned a full-body yawn and went soft again. He pressed the orange bus card into her palm. $20 on it, he said. Don't lose it. The Route 8 will take you to the shelter list downtown. It's not great, but the chairs are warm. He dug in his own backpack and found a pair of thick socks. They were clean. He kept them there for nights when the vents blasted cold. Here, he said. Her fingers closed around the socks like she was holding something fragile. Why are you? She trailed off. He shrugged. He didn't have an answer that wasn't dumb. He stood and shouldered the duffel. Let's get you to the door, he said. They moved through automatic doors that sighed like a tired person. The night smelled like wet leaves and car exhaust. Under the awning, he showed her the bus stop map. He circled the route number with a hotel pen and stuck the map in her envelope. She put the baby in the car seat and pulled the tiny hat lower. The hat had little ears. The newborn sneezed and startled itself, arms flying, then settled. Do you have a blanket? He asked. She held up the hospital one. They said to leave it. He looked around and then pulled one from his cart. It was thin but clean. This one is for, It Environmental Services Instruction, he said, like that explained it. He tucked it around the baby himself. He didn't look back at the sliding doors. She lifted her chin a fraction. Thank you, she said. Not soft now. Plain, he nodded. Stay where there are cameras, he said. It was a dumb thing to say. It was the only thing he had. HR was a beige room with a plant that tried and failed to look alive. A woman with a careful smile read from a printed form. Report of insubordination, she said. Unauthorized use of bed status system. Failure to comply with direct nursing order. She asked if he wanted to write a statement. He said no. He signed. He got 2 days off without pay and a warning. His badge went cold against his neck, like it knew it had messed up. He went home on the early morning bus. He watched the stops slide by in the dark, like beads on a string. He slept 2 hours and woke with a picture in his head, a curtain ring catching on the track. A week later, a laminated sign appeared by the curtains. Knock and announce before entry. The font was too big. It looked like something printed for a fair. Still, it was there. Nurses started pulling the panel shut between beds, even when they were rushing. Housekeeping got new instructions in a short email. EVS sets bed to in cleaning, only after patient is fully dressed and room is empty. It was a stupid line. It meant somebody had thought about it, at least. Someone had written it down. He came back after his suspension and mopped as usual. He kept his head down. His paycheck was thinner that week. He skipped takeout. He made beans at home and ate them with a spoon out of a coffee mug. In the break room, a box of spare socks sat by the microwave with a handwritten sign. Take one. Nobody said who put it there. On his cart, he kept an extra blanket just in case. He filled the side pocket with 2 packets of peanut butter crackers and a cheap orange bus card. It felt like carrying a small kit for a problem everyone pretended wasn't in the building. The nurse with the grey streak stood outside a room 3 afternoons later. She looked at him and didn't look away. I was not at my best, she said. No drama. Then she moved on. He watched another woman in a Johnny gown feed a baby in peace. The curtain stayed closed. A little sign was taped to the rail. Feeding, please knock. The unit was loud. Someone was laughing somewhere. It felt almost like a place where noise didn't always mean danger. He didn't see the girl again. He kept an eye on the bus stop from the window near the elevators. He thought of her when he scanned the barcodes and waited for the beep. Sometimes he swore he saw the cheap car seat shape under the orange light, and sometimes he knew it was just a traffic cone. On his way out, the automatic doors sighed. Evening had come and gone while he pushed his cart. The sky over the parking lot was a flat grey lid. The bus shelter glowed sodium yellow across the street. He stood there a second longer than he needed to, and watched the light hold steady, not flickering, just steady, like someone had finally changed the bulb.